Hey peeps, it's John McKenzie at Staff Leverage. I'd like to welcome three people to our broadcast today. Murray Clare from Staff Leverage, Courtney from Florance Electrical, and Jane from Regency Bathrooms in Darwin. Welcome, ladies.
Hello.
Hi, everyone.
So this is our first four-way broadcast in the live environment, and we've got a number of different things that we want to run through, mostly around how is digital affecting business, customer expectations and digital presence, the different things that's affecting business in the local in the business environment, and also the local economy. So we're going to run through that over the course of the next period of time and get the views of people on the ground that's actually having the biggest difference and engaging customers. So I might kick off with you, Murray Clare, with the first question. In terms of how has digital changed business, how are you seeing digital changing business and the environment at the moment?
Yep. Well, I guess the biggest change is the fact that now with being online, you can collaborate with anyone, anywhere. So, and like even right now in this live is a perfect example. So you guys are in all different locations, albeit in the same region, and we can still communicate and collaborate and do whatever we want. So that, for me, that's probably a massive change. I know other businesses are seeing the same thing, but not just locally. It's the businesses that are collaborating with other regions, so overseas, and being able to, one, do work with them, but two, have them as clients. So that is something that we can all benefit from, and I'm seeing a lot of people taking up that opportunity these days.
Yeah, it's definitely making a big difference in the market. So, Jane, what about you? A traditional business with bathrooms and renovations and new bathrooms, how are you seeing the changes in your business?
Well, I have to be honest, at first we were a bit hesitant about the digital forum. We weren't sure that it would make a huge difference to us because we're very bricks and mortar. We're very much, we have to be in someone's home to discuss it. So it's had a bit of a different impact for us. Initially, we did a lot of normal kind of contact with people, face-to-face and that sort of thing. But we've now approached some of the more social media type of venues, and it's having a bigger impact than we honestly expected. People are engaging with us and asking questions before we actually meet them face-to-face, which was something that wasn't happening before. So when we do get face-to-face with someone, they've got a bit more information. We're able to impart a bit more information to them, things that we didn't think we'd be able to do before that we're able to do now.
Wow, so it's really making a big difference at the moment.
It is, yes, definitely.
That's fantastic to hear. And Courtney from Florance Electrical, how are you seeing digital changing the industry of energy saving and electrical work for small business owners?
So I find this a really good opportunity to actually educate clients. A lot of people don't actually realise that there is ways to reduce their energy bills. So we'll definitely be getting on board with that very, very soon. We've got some things to roll out. We'll be educating our clients with Facebook Live videos like this and giving them handy tips on how to do that around their home.
So are you able to change your sales approach or your marketing approach much faster because of the digital pathway?
Yeah, definitely. It definitely gives a lot of really quick sales funnels for if you need some sales quickly. So Facebook ads are always a really good one that we find works really well. Much better than the old style newspaper or anything like that, which we've never had to do, unfortunately. But it's definitely a great way to go.
So that's an interesting one. You touched on, say, and I call it the analog marketing pathway, so all the old ways of marketing. So we've got the new age digital and we've got analog. But look, if we throw that to MC and say, Murray Clare, like with analog marketing and digital marketing, are you seeing that there's a divide or a split between the two at the moment? And how do you think that's changing the business environment and particularly digital for the business that's using it?
Yeah. Well, the first thing that I noticed is that you can't measure ads that you put in the newspaper or all the traditional ways, because you don't know who's read it or who's seen it. And so that's the first problem. You can't actually measure the results from that, whereas you can online, because you can track and measure through all the different analytics that you've got throughout those programs. So that's probably the first thing. But the second thing is that, I don't know about you, but, when was the last time you bought a newspaper? Like, does anyone remember? Jane, do you buy it every day? Like, my dad buys it every day, but I think he's the only person I know that does. And please get online and comment and tell me if I'm wrong. That's no problem. But I certainly haven't seen many being bought. I remember the days when I was a kid and Dad would say, go to the shop and get me a newspaper, and I'd go there, but they'd all be sold out. These days when I go, it's just a full rack, just in my opinion.
I have to admit, we used to buy the newspaper every day because we always had something in there. Especially, they used to have that section called Trades and Services, if you remember, on the Wednesday, and we were avid supporters of it. And we had a policy of always, every time we saw a client, we would ask them, where did you see our ad? How did you find our number? What made you call us? And every time we did a quote, we always wrote down where that came from. And traditionally, between the traditional yellow pages and the newspaper, that was where it was all coming from. And then it slowly started dying, and it was dying a hideous death. And we just went, you know what? This is just silly. We're spending money that we shouldn't be spending. And I have to be truthful. I don't remember the last time I actually put my hand in the pocket for a newspaper. My dad buys it every day, like yours, but my dad buys it every day to do the crossword. That's it. So he does the crossword. He's not interested in the news. He does occasionally say, I saw this or I saw that. But, in our household, it's online news. It's, you log on and whatever news you want, you get from online. It's there. It's instant. One would hope it's accurate. But it's not... paper format is not something that we consider. And I also think it's shitty for the environment.
Makes a good point.
So that's a really good segue. I think that we could move on to the next question at this point. And the next one is, has customer expectations changed? So you're talking about environment and being green, and we might actually go over to throw this one over to Courtney. So Courtney, from your point of view, what are you seeing that from your customers and how their expectations have changed in the market at the moment?
For us, I think that the customer's expectations have always been there, but maybe not met with other contractors. And then so we've kind of brought in a new benchmark for our customer service. That's our everything. That's how our business runs, from customer service. So always getting a good referral and just going above and beyond to make sure that client's happy. So in a way of expectations changing, I'm not sure that they've changed so much, but they're definitely met a lot more, which makes us happy. When someone says that we've changed the way that they feel about the trade industry, that's worth it all day.
So do you think that the demands perhaps have gone increased because the social environment, so they expect you to be there faster, sooner, perhaps at a cheaper rate than perhaps what it's been like in the past?
I definitely get mixed. Some people want us there yesterday, whereas others are a lot more chilled and happy to wait. But again, it just depends on that client. So most of the ones that come through social media actually do want it quite soon. Whereas some of the ones that come up over the phone or things like that, they're more willing to wait.
No, that's excellent. Marie-Claire, what about you? How do you see customer expectations changing in the digital environment?
Yeah, I think from our business point of view, I think they are changing. I think because it is digital, it's fast, and people, I guess, sometimes have an expectation that because they can see the information quickly. They may not understand the work that goes on behind the scenes to get it out there in the first place. So, but I completely agree with that, because I'm a bit the same on the other end. If I need something done, I like for it to be done quickly as well. So that's just our nature these days with so much available to us. So I think for us and for, I'm sure, all businesses, it's about listening to the clients and, you know, understanding what it is that they want, but then finding the ways to be able to deliver those things faster and faster. And the first step is to say, yeah, you're right, that is too slow. We understand, you know, what's important. And then for us as a business to go back and fix those challenges so that we can get it out faster. And I think all businesses would be in the same position.
Yeah, that's interesting. So you're talking about expectations and change. So, Jane, from your point of view, you've been around for a few years in running your business. So I'm certain that you would have seen quite a few changes in the customer space. What do you think things have changed, or do you see any changes in the last number of years? And do you think that's attributed to digital, or do you think that's just people changing generally?
It's probably twofold, John. I think that there is definitely an expectation of things to happen faster, but we've been around for 20 plus years. So, you know, we've sort of evolved from a very basic, we were one of the very first companies to do what we do. And so we've evolved to try and accommodate people's expectations. But there's also a downside to the digital expectation. Because of what we do, you can only make things happen in a certain way. That, you know, a process takes a process. And in construction, you can only build it so fast, because there's, you know, drying times, construction times, inspection times, all of those things impact what you're doing. So there are hold points for us that prevent us from doing anything any quicker. And it's also a level of quality that we need to bring to our projects. But one thing that we have changed, and that is the customer expectation of when you go to give them a quote, and I'm sure Courtney will agree, they want their quote yesterday, even if they only phoned you tomorrow. And that's the difficulty, because they see things instantly on the net. They say, oh, well, you know, you plug in and there's a product. For us, each product has to be priced individually. It is tailor-made. It is unique. So for us, we have a policy of a 48-hour turnaround for a quote, and that's, you know, for a full bathroom renovation. So, you know, that's quite extensive. We don't have one trade to consider. We have many. And when we try to meet that expectation, and every time we look at it, we look at how can we do this better? How can we provide that information to our customer or our prospective customer in a timely fashion, but in a professional manner, so that they're getting exactly what they're asking for, you know, and in a format that they appreciate. People like the digital format. We used to post our quotes out with little flyers that explained everything. You know, well, that's how it was. You know, it all went in an envelope, quote, the flyer, the bits and pieces, you know, and people would get a package that explained everything. Now it's a case of, you know, here's the quote digitally, with all the links back to all of our possible digital formats, so you can explore it for yourself and then come and ask me questions. So yes, it has changed, and it's changed, I think, for the better, because we can provide more information rather than stuffing it all in an envelope. We can provide so much more information, and we've got so many more resources at our fingertips to provide that information to our customer.
Yeah, I think you're right. So, Courtney, are you seeing the same thing from your point of view?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, and it's always, we have the same 48 hours turnaround for a quote, and yeah, like you say, it's exactly the same. They do want it straight away, but they don't understand that there's measures to go to be able to provide them good value and an accurate quote. So yeah.
Well, so that's interesting. Two businesses on the one Facebook Live having a chat about quotes and customer expectations, and you've got the same policy.
Yeah.
That is a very interesting space. we might move on to the next question. So in regards to the digital presence and how you've changed your digital presence online over the last number of years. So Courtney, we're still with you at the moment. What have you done different from a business in the last couple of years to improve your customer reach?
To start with, we got staff leverage on board, so they definitely helped us out a lot.
Oh, that's awesome.
In the 4 years that we've been running, we've completely revamped our website 3 times, just to try and keep up and things like that. So our website now, again done by staff leverage, is absolutely amazing, and yeah, just keeping up with the times. We've started in the last 2 years, I think it was, doing Facebook ads. So again, they work really well, and the new Facebook business and things like that, definitely had to learn how to do some of those things to make it all effective. But yeah, it's definitely helped out a lot.
So what have you done different, say, in the last 6 months or 12 months from a posting perspective to get further engagement or meaningful engagement? Is there anything that you've seen that you're getting more reach to your customers?
Videos.
So videos.
Yeah, so we've got the voice out on Slack giving handy tips, just anything really to give the company personality. We know we've got personality behind the scenes, but it's just about gaining that trust from our clients and letting them know that we are real people and we can. So it's a great way to show up.
Yeah, that's awesome. So Marie-Claire, I might throw to you.
Sure.
What are you seeing in terms of digital presence where businesses are changing their space? You know, what types of environments do you see businesses moving into in the digital space, and how do you see that they're changing their old ways in that environment to their new ways?
Yeah. Well, firstly, what I see is Courtney's right. Videos, those that I notice who are doing videos and showing a piece of themselves in their videos about their brand and about their products, they're the ones that are telling us that they're getting more sales, because people don't buy a brand, they buy a person. They trust you first and then they buy from you. So when I see any videos that are being done, even if they're really bad, and that's okay, some of them are, but at least there's something, because we know that you've got to put yourself out there. You've got to be vulnerable, share with people what you know, and then they start to trust you. So, and then you can start to connect and talk about what you do from there. So I love it when, and I've seen Jane's videos and I've seen Courtney's, they're awesome. So I think definitely keep those up. So that's, for me, that's what I see is a change. And like, there are still people that I speak to that are too afraid to do that kind of engagement. It is daunting. Like, no one likes to see themselves on video. I certainly don't. But I know that if we don't, then we're going to be left behind. So yeah, that's probably the biggest thing. I think the thing that's holding people back is, you know, it's okay, I'll still do it the old way. You know, I'll still just put my brand up, but it's not enough these days.
Yeah, I tend to agree. So, Jane, with yourself, what digital changes have you made and in the last period of time as well?
Not enough. Absolutely not enough. Our website is very old and needs to be updated, and that's something that we're going to work with you guys on. We do get a lot of feedback about our website that tells us that people really like it because it's got so much information in there. We get the comment all the time, I was looking for a renovation and I found my house on your website, and you know, it might not be exactly their house, but it's the same shape and all the rest of it, and so they can really relate to that, and that's something that we need to drag kicking and screaming into the 21st century. Seriously, my website needs work. But social media wise, your advice to me was, you know, go out there and do some videos. I was petrified. I thought, I can't do this. And my first one I did in the car, and I'm not going to lie, I took 11 takes.
I can relate.
Me too, actually.
I kept looking at it going, oh my God, no. And I, oh my God, my chins. Oh my God, this. Oh my God.
They get worse, actually, the more you do, don't they?
Yes.
Did you go back and use take one?
Two.
That's pretty
two.
good.
I went back and went, oh, just give up and post it, girl. It was just sad, and I thought, oh, just get it out there. And after I did it a couple of times, I realised that people were actually saying to me, I really valued that information, and it was that word, I valued, and I thought, there it is. That we give this information to people when we go and see them. And I repeat myself over and over again. And you know what it's like, Courtney. You go and see someone and you say the same thing over and over again. But if they can refer back and refer some friends back to what they're seeing, and that information is there, when you actually get to the person to do the quote, they're already feeling like they've got some knowledge, they've got some power, they're feeling a bit more empowered, and they can ask relevant questions. And that has helped enormously. I'll be honest, the first video I posted, take 2 of 11, but anyway, the first, it still does my head in. That first video, I'm not going to lie, within 15 minutes, I got 2 calls asking for quotes. Go figure. And I know, mind blowing. And so and Pete says to me, phones have been quiet. Have you posted a video in a while? No, better get onto it, he'll never do it, but I'm the gregarious one, so out there, and I've had a go at it, and I'm not sorry I did it. I'm really glad. I want to do more. I want to fix our website. I think our Facebook page is coming along. Everything is a work in progress, and we can all improve, and I think that's the thing that we need to be mindful of with the digital age, is that someone's always doing something else. Someone's always coming up with another idea or another, a little tick, and you see it and think, now, hang on, use that, twist that, make that work for me. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm now find myself looking at other things. And I do find myself looking at other videos and things that people do and think, that's not helping your business. You're not adding value to your business. You're only adding value to yourself. And whilst people buy you, not your product, which is your first step, it still needs to be relevant. It still needs to have that impact, so that they're looking, yes, at you, but at what's behind you, at what it is that you're projecting. So that's something that I have changed, and I'm glad I've changed, but there's more change to come.
That's awesome.
Look, that's a great story. Really funny. I think that there's a lot to take away from that. When we have a look at perhaps all our video journeys, and anyone that doesn't feel exactly 100% comfortable on video, that when we're not doing it in a live environment like we are now, we end up taking multiple takes and retakes and laughing and giggling and doing all these things, but eventually we just pull the trigger. And I think that fear is actually what holds a lot of businesses back, because we're really uncomfortable in that environment. So success is actually on the other side of the wall where we break through, and that is a wonderful story. And as you said, a couple of phone calls coming through 15 minutes after the first video, that's just a classic. Yeah,
reinforced that that you were right, and that I really should have bitten that bullet a while ago. But it's also, I think I was probably at that point where I was ready to do it. And I think that's the other thing too. You need to be ready to take that step. And it's very important from a business point of view that your business won't grow if you don't take that step. But you need to be ready as well. Stepping out when you're not ready can make, any stuff that you put out there invaluable, unvaluable, sorry. So that, if you can't back up what you're putting in the videos, if you can't support what you're saying and can't project that when you actually get face-to-face with your customers, then you're not ready. You need to have all those tools in your box before you start going out there and delivering that information.
Yeah, that's wonderful. So probably a segue into this, we've probably covered a little bit off, but what's caused the greatest difference in your business in the last 3 months? And we might throw this over to you, Courtney.
Yes. so as well as the videos, we've found that Google Plus reviews has been a massive game changer for us. So that's something that we've been working on a lot in the last 3 months, really pushing our employees to ask for a review on site if the person is happy with that. And it's worked amazingly. When we ask where they heard from us, it's just our 5-star Google reviews. So yeah, I think at the moment we still have the most 5-star, most 5 stars out of all the electricians in Darwin. So that's something we're really proud of. It helps a lot.
Excellent.
Awesome. So what about other things? Because we've talked a lot about digital, but business isn't just digital because you've got to get into the real world. So with your business, you know, you're doing a lot of work behind the scenes to create opportunities for growth. Is there any of that you wanted to talk through at the moment?
Yeah, so we're really working on getting rid of some waste within the company so that we can be able to do more and provide more opportunities. So at the moment we employ 15 people, but we'd like to make it more, and we can definitely do that by tightening up a few things within the company as well.
That's terrific. So Marie-Claire, from your point of view, how are you seeing change in the last 3 months? What are you seeing the greatest differences perhaps in our business or other businesses at the moment?
Probably the last 3 months is just there's been a real shift in taking action, I think. Like, I don't know about you ladies, but the Territory, from our point of view, has sort of gone through a tough time, and I think there's still a long way to go. And I think when that happens, that's where the opportunities are. And, you know, instead of sort of waiting for the phone to ring, maybe that had happened in times gone by, that we're now in a space of action, and you know, we have to go out and get things and just make it happen. So that's probably the biggest shift. John and I have an event coming up next week, which, you know, we've been to a few seminars, and a bit of the advice was stop going to seminars and start doing them yourself. So we've got one next week, and we've been overwhelmed by the amount of people that want to come to that. So, you know, I think just getting in front of people, for me, like I didn't know that we would do that until we started to do it, if that makes sense. So it's just acting.
Yeah, that's interesting. And what about yourself, Jane? In the last 3 months, where do you see the greatest differences in business or your business?
I think being construction, there's been a bit of a downturn, so things have been fairly quiet. We've had to be far more proactive than we had to be in the past. We were a lot more reactive. There was a lot of there was a lot going on, so you know, work was easily generated. That's not the case now, so we have to be far more proactive and seek out the work a little bit more than what we had to in the past. And listening to Marie-Claire talk about the fact that you're going to do a seminar, we're in the process ourselves of doing something that we're hoping is going to work for us. There used to be a thing called at the JPO Maker Village where they used to do these seminars. There were free seminars. People came along and they learnt all about a bathroom renovation, and someone would get up and talk about, you know, what went on and how you went about it and what was involved and all those sorts of things. Well, when that centre closed, there was nothing. And, you know, we've sort of toyed with the idea for quite some time. And so now, in collaboration with a building certifier and also with one of the plumbing supply stores, we're putting together, and it's still in its infancy, but we're putting together the idea of doing some events, probably only once a month or so, to invite people, a small group of people, to come along, get the information that they need so they can go away and make an informed decision. It's in conjunction with what we do with Facebook and our webpage and all the rest of it, but it's more a case of face-to-face, so they can actually ask us the questions without us having to go to their house, without us having to go and actually give them a quote. They don't get a quote, they just get information. It's more about information feeding to the customers so that they've got a bit more. So that's the changes that we've made, but we have noticed that things are very different. There doesn't seem to be the cash flow around that there was, and so you have to offer a very value-driven product these days, and the customer needs to feel like they're getting more than they are, I guess.
Yeah, I think that's an interesting space, because online, or the digital environment, has done that for quite a while, where they've created packages and a whole range of environments. And then what they've done is they've increased the face value of those packages, and then they're discounted down to another price. So to some degree, it's actually impacted a lot of traditional business, because not all businesses can do that. No. And it's a little bit unrealistic. And I think the consumers now are just starting to realise that a lot of that online environment, where they increase that package price point and then they discount it, that they're actually discounting something that they were never going to charge anyway. And, you know, I reckon in the last 10 years, we've seen a very discount-driven community, like with all the different web pages and apps that's come up with all price point discounting, and then, of course, with the online community doing the same. It's caused a lot of the older business models in the marketplace to have to reappraise where they are and how they change their marketing mix and their price mix as well.
You're right, John. I mean, it comes back to the old and, you know, the steak knives thing, you know, yeah, and, you know, 2 sets of steak knives. For us, it's just not that simple. I mean, you know, the cost of trades, the cost of materials in Darwin is quite prohibitive. And things like the block, oh my God, it does my head in. It does, because people see something happen on shows and things like that in that forum, and they honestly believe that can actually happen, and it can't. It's fantasy, and it's very difficult to get that knowledge to people in a way that doesn't make you look like you're sticking your hand so far down their pocket you're reaching their ankles. It really is quite a difficult thing to do. Sorry, but that's how it is. You know, people think that you're really going for the big growth, and you're not. You know, for us, our margins have changed, you know, over the years. We've had to really reevaluate the way that we do business. And in this last 18 months or so, that reality is really hitting home. And this is why we have to change our approach in how we deal with our customers, and how we have to teach them that they are actually getting value for money. That, you know, if you don't pay enough for something, Courtney, you'll agree with me here. If you don't pay enough for something, you're only going to get something cheap and nasty, and it's going to give you the you know what's in a week's time, and you're going to have us back, or you back, to fix the problem that some cheapie did for you in the first place. So, you know, it's educating the customers that, yes, we may be a little bit more expensive, or we may be offering something different, but it's the value behind what you're offering, and getting that information out to your customer so that they understand that the value is there, and that, you know, it's worth paying, you know, the right price for the right product.
Yeah, look, that's an interesting comment. I think that I've seen a number of times, particularly even in our space, where we engage different clients and we help them along a journey. And what will happen is that they'll try to segment a price point, whilst we might be coaching and mentoring or helping with quality and deeper understanding, such as, in this case, we're talking either education, or we're talking about repositioning of a brand or even a business in marketplace. And what I find is sometimes businesses or buyers, they're trying to buy only part of what you offer and say, oh, no, I can get that part cheaper. But, you know, realistically, if you could get the whole thing cheaper somewhere else, you'd be somewhere else. So it's a strange environment where I think in the business world we live in, where there's a lot of different people out there. As you said, the cheapies are out there, you know, driving down price. But there is a difference between price and value. And sometimes value can take a little bit longer when you're dealing with quality brands and quality people that do stand behind their product. So it's a really interesting comment. I think to be honest, there's going to be a lot more discussions around that in this environment in the future, probably the four of us as panellists, because the market keeps forcing that up, and buyers are looking for, one part being a cheap price because that's part of what you sell. But realistically, there's a lot more that goes into the overall offering.
Exactly. It's very frustrating, but you also have to be honest with yourself. And this is probably a very harsh thing to say, but you don't want every customer that comes to your door. Some of them are just not really, you're better off without them. You're adding value to their homes, lives, businesses, whatever, and that you want them to be adding value to yours as well. And some people, it's sometimes it's just better to walk away and say, you know what, maybe you are better off with the opposition or whatever. Off you go, enjoy, because you're going to get what you pay for. And at the end of the day, if you don't want a quality product, go somewhere else. Unfortunately, the digital arena has actually created some of this problem, because people say, oh, I Googled it and I could get it, $50 cheaper here, or, $500 cheaper there. Well, yeah, absolutely you can. But are you dealing face to face with someone who's got 25 years experience? Are you guaranteed, is that person, have they been here? Do they understand everything that goes into it? For us, it's, do they understand the regulations? Do you understand what's actually behind what it is that you're paying for? It's not just the bathroom, the tiles, the bath, the toilet. It's not just that. It's everything that goes into that. And it's teaching your customer, no matter what it is that you're selling, teaching your customer through a digital format and a face-to-face format that what they're getting is actually value. And that's the hardest part with the digital age, I think, because people will surf and think it's the same thing, and it's not. It's
Dr.
just not.
Google.
Oh my God, yes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I think every industry goes through it. Absolutely.
Yeah, of course.
So Courtney, we've covered a lot off there. So I want to throw back to you there. Do you see the same thing generally with your prices in market, where you're being compared to, say, competitors in marketplace, but they're either not following procedure or compliance, or they're using inferior products?
Yeah, absolutely. I couldn't agree more. There are so many people at the moment, especially electricians, who are operating without contractors' licenses. And that's a big one for us at the moment. We're always going back on site to repair their issues, so that's just more costly for the client. But yeah, our advice to anyone who would like to question our pricing is that go and get 2 other quotes, because we are transparent. We do offer good value, and they will soon see that we aren't that much more expensive, but we have some good services that we provide, and we only have to come back. We only have to be there to do the job, and we won't have to come back. So, yeah.
Look, I think that once again, we will end up doing a full segment on sales, not only digital sales, but also analog sales, in the sense that what does a sales cycle look like? But I have a look at the marketplace at the moment. I see the same thing. I see that a lot of people always want the cheapest price, but they actually want quality. And you can't have cheap and quality in the one purchase. It's a really hard market to get that. And if you're looking for people that's going to help you achieve the end result that you're looking for, and that could be consistency. So in the marketplace, sometimes you can get a cheap outcome, but if you've got repeatable clients, in this case, Florance Electrical, you're probably looking for someone that can back that up, ongoing consistency. I also think that when we have a look at where you are, Jane, with a one-off big purchase, you don't want to be messing those ones around, because, if you're going to redo a bathroom, I don't think you'd want to redo the bathroom. It's a very costly process, again, if it gets messed up. It's...
Sorry, John. Well, we actually had one exactly. Guy came to us, and another, who shall remain nameless, company, and our price and theirs wasn't that much difference. We're only talking a couple of $1,000s difference on an approximately $30,000 bathroom. And so they went ahead with the other guy. And when we asked them why, they just said, "Oh, I don't know. We just decided to go with them." And we said, "Okay, fair enough." They went with them, and without a word of a lie, 3.5 years later, got a phone call. "Can you come and have a look at this?" And I said, "Didn't you just get that done?" And he said, "Yeah, it's leaking like a sieve." And so, yeah. So we went back, and it hadn't been waterproofed correctly. The shower hadn't been sealed correctly. There was just water damage left, right, and centre. And the fixable cost to get it back to how it should be so that it could be used again as a bathroom cost him another $28,000. A bathroom that should have cost him 28 grand to start with cost him $56,000. True story.
Wow.
And that's only 12 months ago that this happened, less than 12 months ago. And we just couldn't understand it, And when we said, "Did you get all your certificates and all the rest of it?" And he said, "Oh, yeah, there it is. It saved him 2 grand first time around, cost him another 28. So
that's amazing.
Yeah.
That is a crazy thing. And I think that Courtney probably touched on that earlier today when she mentioned that she's rebuilt her webpage 3 times in the last 3 years. Sometimes we've just got to focus on getting things right the first time and really working on how we do that, how we deliver. Really interesting conversation. I think there'll be a lot more to come up with this. So let's try and wrap up with a local economy question. How do you see the local economy in the Darwin market or the Northern Territory? And where do you see it going perhaps in the next 12 months or so? So, Marie-Claire, we might throw this one over to you first.
I knew you'd start with me. Okay. So I touched on it before. I think everybody is feeling that it has been a pretty tough, 18 months, maybe 2 years. And sorry, my phone was just ringing. I had to turn it off. And look, the things that I'm hearing around business is a lot of frustration around dealing with, and I'm going to pick on them. I'm sorry about this, but government tenders. So, there's a lot. Yeah, I can see everyone's faces just going, yeah. People, it's just frustrating to deal with it. And I don't know why, because, they're contracts. I know some of them are large, but people are saying that they're either waiting for 6 months for decisions or they're not understanding the process. Some of the processes have changed. And there's a whole bunch of things that go on. But I guess we have come from a town traditionally that relies very heavily on government. So for me, that concerns me, and I'm always looking for ways that we don't rely on government so heavily because I think in the last 12 months especially, we've realised that we can't wait around. So into the future, I think it's going to get worse before it gets better. There's a lot of vacant land around. There's a lot of businesses have been closing. There's been a lot of businesses that have been reducing their staff numbers, which is awful. And then those people, will either get a position which might be less for their families or they might have to leave town. But I guess on the flip side, again, I said this before, it's the opportunity as well. And some of the businesses that we do get to speak to and we do get to work with, they are turning it around and they are doing amazing things and they're growing. And it's those stories that keep us positive, and that's what business owners do. So whilst there are lots of people hurting, I think that if those same people can turn it around, then we absolutely have a bright future. And I think that us as business community leaders, and I'm going to say that because I think we are the ones that can help shift that and get the energy back into the place.
Yeah, look, I totally agree, MC. I think that one thing I'm going to challenge the norm of people's thinking at the moment is when you have a look at local economy. My belief is local economy is actually global economy. We've just got to find a way to break through from one to the other. But I think where we actually try to keep focusing on the local economy, and we do because it's in our patch, it's also about trying to work out how do we think different, how do we think outside of the box, and how do we create new opportunities. And you did touch on that. So, Jane, from your point of view, where do you see the local economy? How are you feeling at the moment? And what do you think the next 12 months will look like?
I think there's sadly, there's a lack of motivation out there in the general economy and the general populace. I think people are very unmotivated and a little bit depressed. There's a lot of, we look at it, we drive around to do our quotes and things, and we look at it and we go, that house needs a new bathroom, that house needs a new bathroom, that one needs a new bathroom. I'm sitting in the street here now and I'm looking at them, I'm thinking, there's 50 houses in this street and I can guarantee you they all need new bathrooms. So I think people have been frightened by what's gone on in the economy, and when people become nervous, they hold everything in, and the first thing that goes is any luxury items. So obviously bathrooms, kitchens and things like that, from our point of view, the wallets get slammed shut and people just, hold on and sit back and wait to see what's happening. And I think that's sadly what's gone on in the last 18 months. And I agree. I think it's probably going to be another 12 months before it happens, that it flips about. I don't think any of the decisions that have been taken federally or locally, government-wise, have helped us. The lack of the GST funding coming in makes people think, there's no money going around. So again, hang on to what we've got. Let's not spend. So there is a sense of fear in the environment, and people, the economy is frightened. I think scared to go ahead and spend that money and take those risks. And I think from a bricks and mortar point of view business, rather than a full on digital or an online business, that does hold us back. And I would value any strategies that I could get that will help us stretch that. But when you're dealing with something as, that is, someone's bathroom, it's not something, I can't do one in China. I can't do one, in New York. I'd love to, but it's not going to happen. So, hell yeah, fly me over, I'll do your bathroom. But it's one of those things where for us it is very insular, and that's something that does make ours just that little bit trickier. But it doesn't mean it has to be complete doom and gloom. I think it's an attitude thing too. If you're projecting a positive value-adding attitude, then your customers are going to see that, and hopefully that will help turn it around. But I do think there's a lot of fear out there at the moment.
Yeah, I think so. And Courtney, with yourself, what are you seeing the local economy, how things are moving, how you've experienced in previous years, and perhaps where it's at the moment?
Yeah, so for us, the local economy has always provided a lot of opportunity. I think that's definitely how we've grown to be where we are today. The last couple of months, we've definitely struggled a lot more than we ever have. We've not really ever had too many issues in the sales area, but we have been experiencing that in the past couple of months. But it's just all a learning curve. You just need to grow with it and bring out new opportunities, bring new ideas to the table to be able to benchmark that new level, break new ceilings. I think that the grants that the government's offering for the energy scheme and the home renovation grant, that's definitely helped out a lot. It's literally put some money in people's pockets to be able to do things that otherwise they might not have. So that's definitely helped our business a lot. And yeah, it's just about opening up new opportunities. So we're just about to release a whole heap of new energy cost saving solutions, and that again put money in people's pockets. So hopefully that will move us into a new space and will work out well as well.
Terrific. Well, ladies, I think we've covered off a lot of ground here today.
Yeah, we have.
Do you know if we've had many people watching, John?
I've seen a few people come through, but what tends to happen is in the middle of the day, this will get a lot more viewing as we start to share it through our networks and local communities. But, I think that a lot of people at the moment, they're still engaging with the digital space. They've still got a long way to go. I think this will become a regular occurrence for us in what we end up doing engaging local businesses and pulling them into the local digital age and talking to their customers and perhaps even each other. But, that'll be a watch this space over the coming months. But I think thank you so much, all ladies, Barry, Claire, certainly Courtney and Jane, for coming online. I think that we could do a segment more about your businesses in coming periods and talk a bit about more of what you do in terms of the electrical and energy space, Courtney, and Jane also in the bathroom space. And I think that we could all learn a lot from the different parts that you operate your businesses and also how you go about what you do and what makes you one of the leaders in the marketplace. So thank you so much for being online with us here today. And we might end the broadcast there.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a great day, guys.
You too.